David, I will start up with you. I know you have been living and working in Hainan for multiple years, and your company has been directly involved in translating government documents, papers, related to the operation of the free trade port. So share with us, what's your assessment of Hainan's current business environment? What kind of changes, taking place, or what's your expectation?
Okay, so I think the most direct interpretation that we can see of the changes of Hainan's business environment is simply the amount of foreign entrepreneurs that we are now seeing coming to Hainan and daring to perhaps explore new industries and try new things with their own careers. And since the initiative of building the free trade port in Hainan was announced in 2018, and certainly since the overall plan for the construction of the Hainan Free-Trade Port was released in 2020, Hainan has been going all out, shall I say, to signify to the world it's open for investment, for entrepreneurship. And that is reflected in the work that it has done to turn all of its processes and various platforms to turn them into bilingual platforms. For example, the Hainan e-registration system for company registration. When I first arrived in Hainan and set up my company, it was still fully in Chinese. Now it's fully bilingual, and not only that, foreign investors, foreign entrepreneurs, they can complete the process fully online, just like Chinese nationals have always been able to do since the system's inauguration. And furthermore, Hainan has gone to great lengths to explain its policies, explain the initiative in easy-to-digest ways. For example, the winning in the FTP, Stories of Hainan's Business Environment Construction, which I participate in the translation of. It is this, I think, rather lovely bilingual comic book, in fact, that introduces the various policies and optimizations that Hainan has introduced over the years in humorous detail. There have been other guides, various guides, and most recently, in fact, just a couple of days ago, the Hainan Free-Trade Port International Services Portal was launched, which provides basically building on the foundation of all of these paper-based guides that have come before, and it provides basically a one-stop portal for foreign nationals living, working, and investing in the free trade port, to learn more about the free trade port, to go where, to do what, with many processes online. So Hainan has really pushed the boat out in terms of improving its business environment, especially for foreign investors.
Right, one-stop service as one of the standing out factor there. Edward, it was 47 years ago, as we said, Third Plenary Session of the 11th CPC Central Committee met and laid out a new roadmap for the country's modernization, reform, and opening up. On that same date this year, Hainan begins island-wide special customs operation. But unlike earlier in the policy palace, this more effectively turned Hainan into like an independent, customs zone, allowing the free trade port to operate as a real system rather than just a framework or talking points on papers. So what do you make of this move?
It's incredible, Sindor. You mentioned about the historical signal that this opening up actually presents to the rest of the world, including to the Chinese. It's a significant big deal. I think in 1978 we now witness how that change has changed China significantly, and after all this time, now we actually taking, in my view, a second important historical step in accelerating and expanding, opening up and reform. I think it sends a very strong signal because is, unlike many other previous so-called free trade zones, which are located in specific cities, this is entire province or entire island, which is going to be, from the customer standpoint, highly independent. So it's going to be a new experiment for China to demonstrate its commitment and willingness to open up and to reform and to work with the rest of the foreign business community, as well as Chinese business community as well. So from that standpoint, I think there's a lot of expectation for the future development of this FTP. And time will tell how it's going to evolve. But if we look at the achievement of China over the last 4 decades since the reforming opening up, it has been very impressive. So one would expect that this new stage of reform probably is going to bring another very prosperous period for China.
Professor Xiao Geng, why this move such a pivotal step in China's opening up today? At least this is what has been talked about. Hainan's reform and opening up will be an important step in China's overall opening up.
Let's look at how Hong Kong has helped China to turn from a centrally planned economy to a market economy, and now to the biggest economy by purchasing power parity in the world. And so Hong Kong is a free port, but Hong Kong is too small, and the cost is very high. But Hainan is the biggest free port in the whole world, right? So in that sense, China already got the experience of using free port to help opening China's economy. But in the future, China not just attracting foreign direct investment and doing industrialization, urbanization, but also Chinese companies are also going out. So in a way, Hainan, is a institutional change, which basically will create entire institutional ecosystems from customers to no exchange control, free flow of capital and the people and the goods. All this is going to basically make a much bigger Hong Kong, and in a way, Hong Kong is so closely connected to the rest of the world. But think about on the scale of Hainan, that I think is extremely important for the next few decades of China's development.
For the development for the nation. During an inspection tour in Sanya in early November, President Xi Jinping described the Hainan FTP as a major policy decision aimed at comprehensively deepening reform and opening up in the new era. So what role do you expect Hainan Free-Trade Port to play in the nation's, let's say, reform and opening up agenda?
Well, I think President Xi has a very big picture in mind when he says about these things. I think overall this is still very much a sort of an experiment, a pilot project. This is the beginning of a much larger scale opening up, essentially rendering China into a free trading nation. There's no reason to be shy about claiming that China is the world's largest trading nation, and we are going to be the world's largest free trading nation. These days, not many countries talk about free trade. They talk about secure trade, fair trade, these concepts. But China is
tariffs.
Yeah, right, exactly. So China is the ultimate holder of this, century-old banner. Time-tested banner about free trade, and very characteristic of the Chinese way of doing things. We are conducting this grandiose experiment, and if it's successful, I'm pretty sure it will be promoted to the rest of China. The world's largest exporting country is also going to be the world's largest importing country, and I think this big project is going to open up great opportunities for many people, for many companies all around the world. And if you really think about why China is doing this, it's mostly conducive to increasing imports. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you don't have to do this to increase your exports. Right? So Hainan is going to see a big surge in imports, and so that's certainly good for many countries around the world. And at the same time, I think it also contributes greatly to the local prosperity in the Hainan Island. You're already seeing many people, business people, moving to the island, setting up companies, buying up properties. All these opportunities, all these actions contribute to the local economy. So I think this is again, I want to emphasize, this is the harbinger, if it's successful, of a much, much larger scale opening up of China, making China a totally free trading nation, a country that potentially that's going to allow free flow of its currency, free flow of capital. This is really the next level. I think this is probably what President Xi has in mind when he talks about these things in Hainan.
Edward, speak of the import. Many people say China is the factory of the world. Probably with further opening up and reform, China will be the market of the world. Anyway, if you look at the FTP in Hainan, the island will expand the categories of tariff-free imports from 1,900 to 6,600. These goods can circulate tax-free within the island, and some can flow tax-free into the mainland as long as they have been processed in a way that adds value of more than 30%. What does such practice mean to businesses?
Well, it means a lot, actually. You started by talking about China being the factory of the world. Now China is evolved into a high-tech manufacturing center of the world. And, with the opening up of Hainan, with the situation, the conditions that you talk about, lots more high-tech or technology-oriented manufacturing probably is going to move their operations, at least, manufacturing and R&D centers and so on, to Hainan to sort of take advantage of especially the tax privileges, right? But beyond manufacturing and R&D and so on, I think we're also going to see a lot more consumption-related activities that's going to be happening in Hainan because of the tax-free situation. Many products, especially branded products from the rest of the world, will actually gravitate to Hainan because consumer will find buying a similar product in Hainan will be cheaper than, let's say, in New York or Shanghai. So Hainan become very attractive from this standpoint. So we're going to also see a lot of these kind of services that will actually develop as well. As manufacturing, retail, services, and other activities grow up, you will also see the influx of professional services. I think David started talking about his own business, which is in a way part of professional services. But beyond, teaching or language and so on, there's also many other type of professional services like financial, accounting, legal, and so on. And I also would see many of these kind of services will be gravitating towards Hainan. So I think it's going to be very interesting development on how diversified the economic development of Hainan is going to be given this relaxation in the tariff structure.
Well, David, as an individual consumer living in Hainan, I mean, people around you or yourself, obviously, something preferential kind of like treatment because, zero tariff of goods will be available in Hainan everywhere. So that's something, right?
Correct. Hainan has just recently, on November 1st, introduced optimizations to the duty-free shopping policy, which now allows Hainan residents, including foreign residents, to purchase duty-free goods at any time during the calendar year, so long as they have left and returned to Hainan at least once within that calendar year. And the range of goods available at the moment is quite limited, but I am sure that it will expand further quite soon in the future. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, the category they are talking about currently is like 1,900. That will be expanded to 6,600. Several times. Of the previous number. So hopefully.
Yes.
Professor Xiao, if you look at the other standing out measures people are talking about, for example, Hainan is also going to have this relatively low tax burden for businesses as well as individuals. For example, the general corporate tax in Hainan is 15%, compared with the 25% in the mainland. For individuals, Hainan's highest income tax rate is 15%. And versus 45% in the mainland. I mean, there's a big difference. What impact will such policies have on the business environment? Or in a sense, like to attract talents around the world to Hainan.
Yes, this is exactly like what happened in Hong Kong, in the past. So the Hainan's tax and duty-free, all this is modeled on Hong Kong and Singapore. But Hainan has a huge geographical space. So that means that, production activities can actually happen in Hainan. And with 30% of value added, it can export into mainland duty-free. So this means that Hainan could be very competitive in the future. Once its Freeport ecosystems are completed. And this is extremely important for China when the mainland's economic systems are quite different from those in the rest of the world. So Hainan will become like a laboratory. And remember, Hainan is offshore, like a free port. So it means that China's official and private foreign exchange reserves could actually invest in Hainan. Mm-hmm. Because if it's foreign exchange reserve, no matter it's official or private, you cannot spend within mainland China. So this provides a very important vehicle for China, to use optimally its savings, and basically this is really good for balancing the global trade.
Mm-hmm.
So Hainan provides great potential. Yeah.
Right. I have to ask you, David. This like 15% tax rate, the highest. Compared with like 45% in the mainland. That's a big difference, right? For people with a high salary, like professionals, I mean, residing in Hainan is a choice. David, are you turning on? Can you turn on your mic? Yeah.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Sorry, yes, precisely. And besides that, we have the beautiful beaches, mountains, sea, which are all very attractive propositions. If you want, if you're looking for a change of environment, yes, but a 15% cap on the individual income tax rate really is a very attractive proposition. For high-earning talents.
Mm-hmm. For hiring talents, John, I'm thinking of like what kind of talents Hainan, the government and the local businesses are looking at. Obviously, it's not only the mainland, Hong Kong, Singapore, everywhere around the world. Here's the choice, and obviously with a lot of preferential treatment, very attractive treatment. But then it's really about what kind of talents you're looking at, or what kind of industries, what kind of services, what kind of businesses the Hainan, aims at.
There will be these high-end sort of service-oriented companies going to Hainan, and they will be looking for people sort of in these areas like accounting, like legal services. Mm-hmm. Customs clearing kind of a thing, financial people, these kind of a very traditional high-end service-oriented employment opportunities. But I think probably more importantly is that the Hainan government must be very interested in these high-tech areas opportunities, right? Looking for maybe pharmaceutical research areas. Hainan is actually quite noted for its healthcare industry.
And medical tourism.
And medical tourism, exactly. So like high-end hospitals. So I'm pretty sure, those people, these companies, these hospitals, organizations will be looking for sort of high-end people in that area. And I'm also very sure that the Hainan government is, keenly interested in setting up more, seeing more companies being set up, for example, in areas of AI, in areas of, there's these sunrise industries, high-tech sunrise industries that doesn't cause any pollution. So these are the usual suspects. I mean, every municipal government in China is interested in attracting investment in these areas, and I don't think Hainan is any exception. And with these preferential,
is that a kind of a competition with Shenzhen, for example?
I'm pretty sure there will be, because look at the profit tax rating. Hainan is very attractive. 15% across the board, no matter how much you earn. That's a very strong value proposition for a lot of companies, right? So I think there's a strong value proposition here that there will be companies, highly profitable companies, having an eye on that,
in Hainan. But Edward, I want to have this question for you. Well, of course, on one hand, I would say probably mostly people say all these measures are for Hainan's development. At the same time, some of the measures obviously are being piloted in Hainan. If they are successful, that would then be introduced to the rest of the nation, the country. So the rest of the country will catch up and become opening wider, freer. Is that the goal too?
Yeah, that's a question for me, right, Sinto?
Yes, Edward.
Yeah. I think Professor John Gong already mentioned that earlier, and I agree with him. We have seen China practicing this sort of doing experimentation, learning, and then adapt the learnings, and then to do more experimentation. That we have seen this before many times during the reform and opening process. I think this time is no different. I think that I totally agree with Professor Gong's point. While we are seeing this current development as pretty significant and pretty large, is probably only the beginning of something even larger. That larger is the transplant of the experience in Hainan into the rest of China. And even when that becomes a reality, I think China is going to be a totally different country with incredible and overwhelming economic and perhaps other aspects of power in the rest of the world. So I think that is why that is, in a way, is a heritage from the spirit of reform and opening up started by Mr. Deng Xiaoping in 1978, as we started this conversation earlier.
That's right. Professor Xiao, let's take a look at the potential challenges. Some people say, well, if you compare Hainan with say Hong Kong or Singapore, they say, oh, there's a lack of independent legal system, the language service, or financial service. They say the free flow of capital flow, etc. Whether that's available or not, in the near future or any point. How do you look at the potential challenges Hainan and the whole nation need to overcome to make Hainan successful, and also for long-term point of view that will continue to be competitive compared with other places?
Yes, this is the key. In order for a free port to operate smoothly, successfully, it requires an ecosystem. Institutional ecosystem, which of course includes the rule of law. Most free ports are on the common law system, and also the financial systems, because every movement of goods and people, needs settlement, needs payment. So the financial system, and which also means the currency, and all this is highly complicated. So it is a huge challenge for Hainan. Even you build all the physical infrastructure, but the software is more important. But I think Hainan has great potential because China already got Hong Kong. So all the software in Hong Kong, is ready for helping Hainan. I think yes, challenge is very, very serious, and of course you also need people to run the systems, Hong Kong has a lot of talents. They are ready to help. So in a way, Hainan experiment is just started. I think the decision is a milestone. It's a milestone, but the actual operation successfully, it means that there's a lot of institutional, innovation necessary. But China is ready because of the rich experience in Hong Kong, and also a lot of free trade areas. Their kind of difficulties, means that in Hainan it could design a much better system instead of piecemeal reform.
Well, John, how do you look at the potential challenges, given this global, let's say, uncertainty or fragmented situation, instead of, as we previously understood, the globalization now is probably more fragmentation. Is that an obstacle or is that a plus actually for Hainan?
That's certainly a very important factor when foreign companies evaluate their investment decisions in Hainan. Look back, we all understand that China's economic success in the last 40-some years during the opening door policy era is also very much contributed by foreign companies investing here in China. It's an indispensable part of a success story. So the question about whether Hainan's future success, potential success story, it can be done without foreign investment, I think it's a big question. We really need these foreign companies, and the problem is that we are facing entirely different geopolitical global landscape right now. Foreign companies look at Chinese marketing through a very different lens these days. Nevertheless, I think, relatively speaking, this area is still very peaceful, right? I mean, you see these turmoils in many parts of the world, and by and large, East Asia still represents a big epicenter of the global economic activity. So I hope that foreign companies will still be interested in China, and particularly interested in Hainan.
Yeah, different regions there. With that, we are coming to the end for today's show. Many thanks to our guests. You can also find us on the CGTN app or on YouTube. I'm Xu Qinduo. Thanks for being with us. See you next time.